Hello. 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 Continue. Yeah. So first of all, we will see the which chapters are having the good weightage for us. So in this, according to the Telugu Academy syllabus, I'm saying the chapter numbers and the names of the chapters. So first of all, we will see the LQ weightage chapters. That is 8 marks question chapters. So in that, the 5th chapter comes as the chapter name is Morphology in Flowering Plants. From this chapter, we will get 1 8 marks question as well as 2 marks questions. So whatever we are preparing with the LQs, we can go very easily with the 2 marks VSQs also. That means total 12 marks is the chapter's weightage. And here they may change the VSQs to 1 SQ also, but 12 marks is constant over here for scoring the good score from one single chapter for us. So first of all, we will see how to go with this chapter, getting 12 marks as it is for us to get good score in the final, that is in the supply exams for us. And again, the same chapter, we are having a good weightage in the competitive exam also. In the competitive exam, again, we will get nearly 3 questions related with this. Directly 2 questions, indirectly 2 or 1 minimum indirect question that is linked with the other chapters. Damn sure we will get from this chapter. So this chapter is having a good weightage whenever we are preparing for the IPE, 8 marks, 2 marks or 4 marks, whatever may be that one. Same thing we will have in the competitive exam also. So first of all, we will see the first LQ, what we have to prepare for the IPE exam wise. So here, that is the root modifications. The question is, define root modifications and explain in detail about the different root modifications that occurred in the flowering plants. So here, 2 questions they have given. Define root modifications and the different types of root modifications we have to say. So first of all, we will go with the definition of the root modifications. What is meant by root modification? So in the root modifications, what we have to say, what is meant by modification? Change of a part to do some special functions. That is the modifications. And in the root modifications, we can say when the root is modified to do some special functions. That is called as the root modifications. When the root of a plant is changing itself to do some special functions is called as the root modification. So how many types of root modifications are there? After this definition, we have to go with the explanation of the types of the root modifications. So how many types of root modifications we are having? Total 8 types of root modifications. So the second sentence, what we have to write? The root modifications are of 8 different types. Then in that, the first one, we have to start as the storage roots. Storage roots. In the storage roots, what is the meaning of this? In the question only, but that means in the side heading only, the meaning is there. What is that storing the excess amount of the food material in the roots by changing its size and the structure. That is called as the storage roots. Simple definition. No need to worry. No need to mug up the definitions or anything. What we have to say, what is meant by storage? Storing the food in which part? Root part. That's it. What we have to write? Storing the excess amount of food material in the roots by changing their structure and function is called as the storage roots. But in this one, we have to draw the diagram and give the example. So in this examples, only 5 different types of examples are there. All 5 we have to write. And in this, what we usually see in our day-to-day life are the examples. The first one is in this storage roots, again, tap roots will changes into the storage roots by modifying themselves. That is the taproot modifications. In the taproot modifications, we are having 3 examples. The first one is carrot. And by storing the food, it turns into the cone shape. And here only we have to draw the simple diagram. Simple diagram. No need to do much more efforts also in drawing this. And the next one is the radish. This is also a taproot modification. In this, how the root occurs for us, that is in the spindle formation. Spindle shape, what we will say. So, how the radish looks? Very simple diagram. But here, root heads are somewhat bigger and a thin tail-like structure we have to draw that gives the spindle shape for the radish. That's the second example. And the third one is the beetroot. Beetroot. How to draw the beetroot? I'm drawing here this is having, by storing the food material, it looks like the top shape. That is the beetroot. Okay. So like this, simple diagrams we have to draw here, there, then and there itself. That is, whenever we are giving the example name, there only we have to draw the diagram. That's it. Now we have to go with the next one. That is the adventitious roots. When adventitious roots are modified to store the food material, how they look and what is the example in that. When the adventitious roots are storing the food material in them, then example in this is sweet potato. Example is for the adventitious roots which stores the food material, there is a sweet potato where it does not have any shape. Shapeless one is the sweet potato. Because many roots are present which can store the food material and getting any type of a shape. That is the adventitious roots which are storing the food material in them. This is the beetroot, sweet potato. And the next one is fibrous roots, which stores the food material in them and changes into a different shape. That is asparagus. Remember this plant name. This is the most important one, what we will see in the next upcoming LQs and the SQs and VSQs also. The same plant name will be coming for us. Complete 2 years, we are having the same plant name. So remember this fibrous roots modifies into the storage roots. Example, asparagus. In this, the roots will store the food material in the form of water. Having any shape, but in all other root modifications, they will store the food in the form of the solid molecules. But here, it's nothing but the only water will be there. That is the asparagus. Now comes the second type of root modification. Prop roots are pillar roots. Second type of root modifications are prop roots or pillar roots. When we are writing, it should be the prop root. But when we are remembering, remember it as the pillar roots, because prop roots is the word what we will expect you have to write in the IPA exam. So this word should occur as a side heading over here. So the prop roots, example, banyan tree. So how to draw this and what is how the roots arising? The roots are arising from the heavy branches of this tree to give extra support for the heavy branches. These are the roots which are arising from the heavy branches to give pillar-like occurrence. These are called as the prop roots or pillar roots. Example, banyan tree. And the third one, what we have to say in the root modifications is the stilt roots. Stilt roots. In this, the best example, easiest one without any spelling mistakes, everyone can write as the sugar cane. And what is the modification that occurs in this plant? So here the plant is the unbranched tall stem, and from the first nodal regions, from the first nodal region of the stem, the roots will arise, the adventitious roots, to give extra support for the plant body. Like this, the roots will arise from the first nodal region. So this is the first node. From here, roots will arise like this to fix the plant to the soil molecules. This is to give the extra support for the unbranched tall stem. But it's not the mechanical support. Okay, remember, we should not write over here the mechanical support. It's nothing but the extra support for the unbranched tall stem. That is the stilt roots. And the fourth one is pneumatophores. And we learned the same one in the 10th class as the respiratory roots. But here we have to write it as pneumatophores. Because we came to inter, so we have to write it as the pneumatophores. But we can say them as the respiratory roots. And where these roots will arise and what is the best example in this? The best example in this pneumatophores is the rhizophora. Rhizophora. If you are facing the problem in remembering this example, then simply write the mangrove plants. mangrove plants. This also we can say, otherwise the rhizophora also we can say. This is one of the mangrove plant. If there is a problem in remembering the example, that is the spelling of this, then we can say very easily the mangrove plants. Simply we can say mangrove plants. So in this, how the roots are arising. The plants are growing in the swampy areas, and the branches of the roots will arise above the soil to get more oxygen for their respiration process. That is called as those roots are called as the pneumatophores. The plant is a very big plant will be present. This is the soil, and the branches of the roots will arise above the soil like this. All around the plant body, the roots will arise, which will do the respiration process for the plants to survive in the swampy area. So only one sentence we can wind up this topic. How to wind up this topic? The branches of the roots will arise above the soil, which will help out in doing the respiration process. That is the rhizophora, otherwise the mangrove plants, what we can say. Now comes with the fifth type of root modification, that is the velamen roots. Fifth type of root modification is velamen roots. Example, Vanda. So here, how the plant arises, where it occurs, and what is the root modification, what we have to say here. Two sentences we need to write. Till now, one sentences we have written. Here only two sentences, but that's very easy one, where we can score 8 out of 8 marks for this question. But simple logic you need to follow. So here, these plants, some plants will arise on the big branches of the big trees to get proper sunlight for their photosynthesis. That is the velamen roots. Otherwise, example, Vanda. So in this, two types of root systems can be seen. The roots which hang freely in the air, are having the blunt ends and having pores on them. Those are called as the velamen roots. Those are called as velamen roots. And the other roots which will go into the host branch having tapering ends and highly branched roots, those are called as the stilt roots. Stilt roots. And above this, it is having the leaves for them. So it will take out through the velamen roots, what it will do, it will take out the moisture from the outside atmosphere and supplies to the leaves to do more photosynthesis. These are called as the velamen roots. The roots which absorbs the moisture from the outside are called as the velamen roots. Now comes the sixth type of the root modifications. So the sixth one is nodular roots. Nodular roots. So the best example for the nodular roots is pea plants, or else what we can say, Fabaceae family members, or else we can say groundnut, which is very easy for everyone. So we can go with the only groundnut. So no need for you to remember any other also. Okay, so in this, what happens and how the roots are occurring in these plants. So the roots are, the taproot system will be present for these plants. The rhizobium bacterium lives with the symbiotic association to make the nodule-like occurrence on the roots of these plants, which are called as the nodular roots. Nodule-like occurrence on the roots, which will be caused by the rhizobium bacterium. Remember the bacterium name, it should not have any mistakes in writing the spellings for this bacterium. These are the nodular roots. So what is the one when they are living with the highly evolved angiospermic plants? That type of relationship is called as the symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship. So the rhizobium bacterium lives with a symbiotic association with the highly evolved angiospermic plants to do the nodular formation. These nodules which are having on the roots are called as the nodular roots. And these nodular roots are having the enzymes in them. That is a leg hemoglobin will be present in this. If you remember, then you can write, otherwise no issue. Leg hemoglobin. This is the pigment that is present in this root nodules, which gives the red color for the root nodules itself. And these rhizobium bacterium will absorb the atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into ammonia and stores in the root nodules. It absorbs atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen is going to be absorbed and converted into ammonia. You can write it as NH3, no issue over here. No one will ask why we have written the NH3. If you don't know the spelling, leave it. Atmospheric nitrogen. For the atmospheric nitrogen also, simpler one. N2 we can write is converted into NH3. Like this also we can write this so that we can reduce the spelling mistakes in our answer, where we can score maximum marks in this question itself. And the next one is seventh root modification is hostorial roots. What is meant by hostorial roots? Some plants will live on another plants for their food or shelter or for both. That is called as the hostorial roots, or else we can say them as the parasitic plants. So what is meant by parasitic nature? Which will be present on the some other plant for their food, shelter, or for both. That is called as the parasitic plants. So in this, the complete parasites are there and the partial parasites are there. Partial parasites. Partial parasites means they are depending on the host plant only for their food or for shelter. That is called as the partial parasites. The example is striga. Example, striga. And the next one is the complete parasites. Complete parasites. What is meant by complete parasite? When the plant is depending on the host plant for its food and shelter. Both will be taken from one plant. That is called as the complete parasite. Example, cuscuta. If you can able to remember 2 examples, then well and good from each and every one. At least one example we have to write. So remember one example first of all. That is in the partial parasites, striga is the example, and the complete parasite, cuscuta. Okay, and these parasitic plants are present on the roots or on the stem of the host plant. Anyway, they can live as the parasitic plants. And the next one, last root modification is photosynthetic roots. What is meant by photosynthetic roots? The roots which will do the photosynthesis by attaining photosynthetic roots. What is meant by photosynthetic roots? The roots which will do the photosynthesis by attaining green color for it. That is called as the photosynthetic roots. And these roots will be growing above the soil. So the best example is Tinophyllum. They will get the green color and grows above the soil, and some part of the roots are present always under the soil. So here a part of the roots grows above the soil surface, attains green color and does the photosynthesis for the plants to survive. In this plant, the last point in this one is the stem is leafless. No need of leaves over here because the leaf functions are done by the roots itself. So leafless plant is the Tinophyllum. So like this, we have to draw the diagram, simple diagrams, and we have to give the explanation in two sentences or else in one sentence, so that 8 out of 8. And in this, you have to follow the order for the root modifications. Order should not be jumbled at any cost. So remember the order and go with the explanation part for the root modifications. So in the root modifications, what is meant by root modification? That is the first statement what we have to give. Root modification means some part of a root, otherwise complete root, modifies itself to change its structure and function permanently, is called as the root modification. The next sentence is root modifications are of 8 types. The list we have to say the 8 as it is in the first after the types of the root modification. The first one is the storage roots. Second one is the crop roots. Third one is the stilt roots. Fourth one is the pneumatophores. Fifth one is the velamen roots. Sixth one is the nodular roots. Seventh one is the hostorial roots. Eighth one is the photosynthetic roots. In this, order should not be jumbled. Then only we can write and we can explain the answer very well. Okay. And now we will go with the second type, second LQ that is there in the syllabus for us from this chapter. That is stem modifications. Okay. So what is meant by stem modification and how to write this very big answer is the technique over here to follow. It's a very easy one. We can write the answer with the diagrams, with the examples within 12 minutes. But if you follow the easy tips, then we can go with this type of answering pattern. So the stem modifications, again, we have to give the definition for the stem modification. Here, what is the stem modification? A part of the stem or complete stem modifies to do some special functions is called as the stem modification. Total 3 types of stem modifications are there. Remember the flow chart first, then explanation can be given very easily according to this. So the first one is the aerial stem modifications. Second one, subaerial stem modifications. Third one, underground stem modifications. Aerial stem modification. Aerial stem modification means when the stem is above the soil and does the modifications in it. That is called as the aerial stem modification. So again, it is of 4 types. The first one is stem tendrils. Second one, thorns. Third one, pillowclade. And fourth one is tuberous stem. So here, the first one is the stem tendrils. In the stem tendrils, what we have to write? A part of the stem, that is the axillary buds or the terminal buds, when modifies to become thin, green, wiry tendril-like structures are called as the stem tendrils. And these stem tendrils are of 2 types. 2 examples we have to give. The first one is the cucumber and the grapevine. So the buds are present at 2 different positions on the stem. That is in the terminal bud and the axillary buds. So the terminal bud, whenever it is modifies, that is the cucumber, and the axillary buds, whenever modifies, that is the grapevine. What we have to write the 2 examples for the stem tendrils. So here we can write only the examples, no need of further explanation for this. Only the what is meant by stem tendril. When the axil buds will modify into thin green colored wiry structures to give extra support for the weak stemmed plants are called as the stem tendrils. Example, cucumber, grapevine. And the second one is the thorns. In the thorns, what we have to write? The best example for thorns is bougainvillea. Those who are having the problem in remembering this spelling, they can go with the another plant name, that is citrus. Whatever is easy, we have to go. But here, spelling mistakes should not be there. If spelling mistakes are there, in the theory also, we will reduce the marks for this. And now comes the, what happens in the thorns. In the thorns, the axillary bud, otherwise the terminal, Yeah. In the phylloclade, the best example is Opensia. Opensia. So here, what we have to say about this Opensia? In this, complete stem modifies into green flattened cushion-like structure. This sentence as it is, we have to write. That's it, no changes. No another sentence for this. Entire stem, that is complete stem, modifies into green flattened cushion-like structure. That is called as the phylloclade. This modification, this is meant to reduce rate of transpiration from the plant body. This is phylloclade. And the leaves are completely modified into spines over here. This plant is a xerophytic plant. To reduce rate of transpiration from its body, all these modifications will occur in the plant body. And the fourth aerial stem modification is tuberous stem. Tuberous stem example is Dionia. So in this, what happens? Complete stem. Again, here, complete stem modifies into a bulb-like structure. And we can say this as the bulbils also. Bulbils. And on this, the leaves are present and the stem is having the nodes and internodes on it. And the stem completely stores the food material and becomes bulges. So it is called as the bulbil. Otherwise, the stem is the tuberous stem. Okay. So any one word we can say for this. That is the bulbil. That is the aerial stem modification bulbil. Now we will move to the another stem modification. That is the subaerial stem modifications. So subaerial stem modifications. What to write first of all for the subaerial stem modifications? The 1/4 part of the stem is below the soil like this, and 3/4 will be above the soil surface. That is the subaerial stem modification. And in this, again, why these modifications are occurred? All these modifications are meant to do the vegetative propagation in the plant body. And here, the first one becomes the runners. Example, the best example where everyone can write without the spelling mistake is grass. Isn't it? Everyone can write this example without any mistake. And those who wants to write a new example where we are giving a unique name, that is the oxalis. Those who are going for the improvement exams, they can go with this example. Grass is the common example for the runners. So what is how the stem occurs? The stem is prostrate to the soil surface. Prostrate means running parallel to the soil surface. Stem is prostrate, highly branched, having nodes and internodes. That is wherever, that is the runners. This much only we have to write. And the next one is the stolons. In this, the best example is nerium. Only one example is sufficient. Don't go with the two examples everywhere. Only one example. That is the perfectly, if you prepare with the spellings and everything, that's well and good for my subject. So here, the best example for the stolons is the nerium. So what happens over here? The branches which are nearer to the soil will bend into the soil, grows into the soil and comes above the soil surface. That is the part of the stem branch which is present under the soil is called as the stolon. And same one we will be having in the NEET exams again, same examples. So remember the plant names very well without any spelling mistakes. So this is the only one sentence for the stolons. The branches which are nearer to the soil surface grows into the soil and comes above the soil surface. That is the example is the nerium. Now comes the third subaerial stem modification. Third subaerial stem modification is sucker. In this, I am giving you two examples in this, the easiest one and somewhat the unique name, what we have to say. One is the chrysanthemum. If you don't know this spelling, then don't worry. Go with the easiest one, that is banana. Everyone knows this spelling without any mistake. So you can go with this banana also. Otherwise, aloe vera. That also we know. Very easy to write the spelling. So any one example you can write. Not all. And chrysanthemum, those who are going for the improvement exams, those students need to mention this example for the suckers, because that is the most weightage in the examples wise in the suckers itself. So what happens in the sucker? So here the stem, one nodal part of the stem is completely under the soil. One node. This is a node thing. So this is completely under the soil, and the rest of the plant body is above the soil. That is the subaerial. 1/4 is under the soil, 3/4 is above the soil. So here one node is under the soil, 3/4 of the stem is above the soil surface. That is a subaerial stem modification sucker. So in this, what happens? This is the nodal region for the stem. From the node, the branches will arise, runs parallel to the soil surface, and again grows above the soil. That is the sucker. That is the oxalis, aloe, banana, or chrysanthemum. Any plant name you can write over here. Okay, like that, we have to give the diagram and the example and the explanation in one sentence only. We can wind up. And the next one, the fourth one is fourth type of subaerial stem modification is offsets. Offsets. We have to write this offset at the last only, not in between the three, because this is completely, the modification can be seen in the hydrophytic plants, which are not common in each and every category. So the first three are the land plants on the soil. Only these three modifications we can see. So these three together we have to write like this, and the offsets always at the last. It should not be coming in between the plant modifications. At any cost, we should not write it. So the fourth one is the offsets. The best example for the offsets is pistia. And in this, what happens? 1/4 part of the stem is under the water, and 3/4 of the stem is above the water surface, having the nodes and internodes on it, and the nodes are somewhat far away from one another, and from each node, bunch of adventitious roots will arise, and opposite to this, leaves can be seen. This is the pistia. So in this, what happens? What is meant by offset over here? Here, offset means the internodal distance between the internodal part of the stem is called as the offset. Internodal part of the stem is called as offset. Okay. And the last one is last stem modification. That is the underground stem modification. So we will continue this underground stem modification in the next class, because the time is running off. Okay. So we will see this underground stem modifications in the continuation of tomorrow's class, and be on time for this class. That is the 12 to 1 as the botany class for the first year students. Okay, right. Thank you. कुछ काम नहीं कर रहा कुछ काम नहीं कर रहा होगा